just never stops, Jeremy. In the same week, you've got three Tennessee lawmakers, state representatives, who were facing expulsion. They were facing expulsion. Uh, Two black, one white, and the two young black law legislators were expelled from the body. And we can't wait for Joseph Kiles to tell us who has not been expelled, certain behaviors that have been excused. But really, what is that saying now? This authoritarianism that we're seeing coming from those in power. And it has a Republican face this time, but it can have a face coming from the left. What's going on in America today? What's going on? What happened in Tennessee, and what happens? What does this mean going forward? We're going to have a couple of people on with us today. A Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor, she, along with her colleagues, ran away as they were making a stand, taking a stand against some of the authoritarian measures of then Governor Scott Walker. Um, they could have been expelled, but they were not. Of course, former state senator, Texas state senator, now Texas Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis, same thing. He could have been expelled, but he was not. So let's talk about that today. Upon what grounds do you expel someone? That is, you removed someone from the body. Justin Pearson and Justin Jones are now no longer state representatives. So their districts no longer have representation. So the Republican lawmakers overturned the elections essentially. And Gloria Johnson, who was working with them, the white female legislator, she said, you can read into it what you will, because I'm the only one who survived. But she survived really by one vote. She was almost expelled herself. So let's talk about this today at 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. Let's talk about what happened in Tennessee, the Tennessee Three, and let's talk about their resurrection. They could be appointed by their county commissioner, by their county boards, put back into the seats. A and another election can be held, and they could be reelected. What will happen? Nothing is written in stone, everybody. Call us at 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson on this Resurrection Sunday. Just go to iHeart, everybody, if you want to see us. Our main station is Patriot, uh, AM 1150. Out in California, one of the super stations in the nation, and we are on many other stations around the country. Go to iHeart, the iHeart app, and enter Keep Up Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. In the meantime, we're streaming on the Reverend Jesse Jackson Senior page on Facebook, on the Santita Jackson and Friends page, and we're streaming on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. We want to hear from you about what you think should have happened or should happen with these legislators. Do you think that they should have been expelled for leading this protest as they were trying to give cover and get some comfort for those who were killed in the massacre at the Covenant School in Tennessee just a few days before? Yes. So I want you to call us at 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm Santita Jackson. We'll be back in just a moment.
Your opinion counts. 1-866-594-HOPE. That's 1-866-594-4673.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity during tax season because so much sensitive info.
Shed some light on this situation here as well.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Janet McKinney.
All right, hold. I won't put you on air but I'll let you talk to them. Give me a minute, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, good morning, everybody. Senator Lena Taylor, you are joined by with Dwight McKee and Joseph Kyles. Both of you guys, well, all three of you guys, Santi will be back in a minute.
All right. Good morning. How you doing, Brother Pal? Doing very well. On you? Good. Like,
and block access to malicious websites. Enjoy internet without trackers.
Keep up live. Hello?
Your data more secure. Your connection protected. Zen. Catch the special deal now at nordvpn.com. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
Oh, everything's closed off.
Uh-huh.
Hey, who do we have?
Senator Taylor, Dwight McKee, and Joseph Kyles.
Okay.
Friday did not pick up.
Okay.
You have a caller, Janet McKinney. She doesn't want to go on air, but she wants to talk about something that's happening in Oklahoma.
Okay, we got it real quick. Got like a minute, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to put her on?
Yeah. Miss McKinney.
Oh, hold on.
Hello, Miss McKinney.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Santita Jackson. How are you? I got about a minute before I go to air. I'm sorry I stepped out of the studio.
Yeah, hey, Miss Jackson, and I know you're on the air, but I wanted to.
I'm literally I've got 30 seconds. If you can hold until the break at the bottom of the hour, I'll have a minute, literally a minute for you.
Okay, if you can take my number and call me when you have time.
Not right. I can't take it because I'm on Facebook Live. What I will do, because I don't want you to give it to the whole world. If you,
Right.
And what I will do is make sure that someone from the push staff gets back to you. Can you hold on and I'll have Mr. Geiger get the number during the.
Yes,
Okay.
I will.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much for even just taking the call.
No. That's what we do. I've got a hard break that I'm coming out of. Okay.
And I love your station. I love your broadcast. I love what you guys are doing. It's helping us a lot out here in the community.
Oh, bless your heart. Well, I promise you, I will call you back. Okay.
Okay.
God bless you and happy Resurrection Sunday, of course.
You as well. God bless you all. Amen.
Amen. God bless you.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. Hey, Dwight. Hey, Senator Taylor.
how you doing, Santita?
Good. We weren't able to get Joseph.
Good morning, Santita.
Good morning, sweetie. Oh, he's on? Okay. Hey, Joseph.
Good morning, Santita. How are you?
Oh, boy, you do sound like Dwayne. Oh, my gosh. That is hilarious. Hold on.
My chair. Life's ups and downs.
Oh, please.
God's been good to me.
You are fine. You are digging in the crates today. I love this.
Have been few. Well, I guess you could say God has blessed me. I heard Gladys Knight sing this song the other day.
Oh, please.
But that never
I wish I could play that, just the whole thing. Jesus is the best thing that ever happened to me. Happy Resurrection Sunday, everybody. And we all have an opportunity to be resurrected. And if you look around at your life, you have. You have been crucified and you have been resurrected. Just let Jesus be your example. At the end of Jesus' life, he forgave us all. And then he was able to ascend. And he said, I'll be back. And he's in our hearts today. Happy Resurrection Sunday to all of you, from Reverend Jesse Jackson will be with us a little bit later on. And as we talk about what happened in Tennessee, they are looking for a resurrection in Tennessee, just the whole state today. We saw something really compelling, shocking, really. It's only happened a few times in the history of the state. Really, it only has happened a few times in the history of the Republic, if you just look at us collectively. You had 2 lawmakers who were expelled. They were removed from the body for supporting their constituents. That's really what it came down to. So I wanted to hear from you. 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. And the third of the Tennessee 3, as they're called, barely escaped being expelled herself. And she said, take note of the fact that I am a white woman and I am still here. But the 2 young black men, 2 of the youngest members of the State House of Representatives, they have been removed. They are now former representatives, Justin Pearson and Justin Jones. But State Representative Gloria Johnson stays there. And God bless all 3 of them for the courageous stance that they took against violence expressed through guns. Everybody, I'm Santita Jackson. Hope you'll join me on WCPT throughout the week from 6 to 8 a.m. Let's get right to it. We have got a state senator who has run away, who really did face expulsion, but it didn't happen to her in Wisconsin, State Senator Lena Taylor. Dwight McKee, noted social scientist, but Joseph Kiles, the head of Rainbow Push Memphis, indeed part of the iconic Kiles family. Indeed, it was his uncle and his aunt, Gwen Kiles, who were hosting Dr. King for dinner the night that he was assassinated. I know Miss Gwen Kiles, our Aunt Gwen, had put together a fabulous meal, and Dr. King was running to go get it when he was killed, when he was assassinated. God bless all of you for all of the work that you all continue to do and that you have done down through the years. Joseph Kiles, take us back. What happened? And why did the expulsion happen? But first, what happened?
Well, Santita, thank you for having me, and thank you, Jackson, for all the work that Rainbow Push continues to do around the globe. When we think about the 6 individuals that were killed, 3 9-year-old children and the adults that were massacred because of the high-powered rifle that was used and the access of weapons to this community, you had these 3 state representatives who joined forces with the community to make sure that the voices were heard, to compel individuals in the position of lawmaking to make different decisions. And in the history of the Tennessee General Assembly, I'll have you know that there were former Ku Klux Klan members that were members of the Tennessee General Assembly that were never expelled. There were individuals who had urinated on the House floor and seats and tables that were never expelled. And so this measure, this rush to judgment happened, but we have to ask the question why. And so I started to do a little research, Santita. The top 25 gun manufacturers in the United States made over $20 billion in profit last year. Just one, Smith & Wesson, made over $1 billion. That's double the profit that they made in the previous year. And so this gun lobby has such a pervasive and ancestral relationship with state legislators all across the country. And if you take a look at where the money goes, the stocks, the profits, and the state legislature, they are intertwined.
People have urinated on the floor and they were not expelled. You've had Klanspersons who were not expelled. Sexual misconduct repeated. I understand one of your representatives had more than 20 women accused him of behaving inappropriately. They felt harassed by him and they were not expelled. What does expulsion mean?
Expulsion means that now the individuals that those two particular representatives had been duly elected now have no representation. And so there is no ability to receive effective representation. And also now that the cost will be transferred back to those communities. So in terms of Memphis or Nashville, you're going to look at a special election that may cost upwards of $100,000 just to get them back into a seat that they shouldn't have been expelled from in the first place.
What is can they be reappointed to their seats?
They can. Nashville City Council is already taking measures to replace and put Justin Jones back into the seat, and we'll get more information on tomorrow. But in Memphis, it requires that the county commission either make a recommendation for an interim bill, and then we still have to run an election. And so it's punitive for those areas that that are held by their constitutional amendments to run elections. And not to mention that, you're familiar with the Bailey family. Walter Bailey, a noted attorney, is looking at First Amendment challenges, and they're working on the lawsuits that might be coming forward.
We're talking with Joseph Kiles, the head of Rainbow Push Memphis, as we discuss the Tennessee Three, Gloria Johnson, Justin Pearson, Justin Jones. They were expelled from the body of the House of Representatives of the state of Tennessee. And many people are saying they're critical of this, Joseph Kiles. I mean, what is the political temperature? Now, we're saying this outside of Tennessee, outside of Memphis, outside of Knoxville, outside of Nashville. But what are people saying in Tennessee? Give us the political temperature down there.
Well, the lines have been drawn. What we do see, even in the election in Chicago, the historic election that you all just had, we're starting to see millennials and Gen Xers that are getting engaged. And what it sheds a light on, and I'm sure Senator Lena will be able to talk more about this, if we can grab hold and create a marked plan to do exactly what these young state legislators did. It took courage. Mm-hmm. They knew exactly what they're going to face. But now it's an opportunity to duplicate that bravery and that courage, and turn it around so we can get as many of these individuals engaged in the political process so that we can turn the wheels and turn the tide so that we can get change in terms of this gun legislation.
Do they get the sense that they also, do they get a sense of the national support that they're receiving?
They do. Quite frankly, they're on a flight right now to New York to meet with some individuals there. Reverend Jackson has invited them to Chicago, and we will hopefully get them in on this coming Friday and then be available for Rainbow Push on Saturday. But they are fully engaged, and they're answering the call, and they're organizing and strategizing to help others.
Joseph Kiles. So what is next? I mean, practically speaking, they're making media appearances, but how are they going to get their jobs back? Who is going to represent? Are those two seats, those two districts just don't have votes right now? Is that it?
They're completely void. Representation is just taxation without representation. So all of the individuals that live and reside and pay taxes and have voted, because the Republicans have decided to snatch their representation away currently. And keep in mind, in Tennessee, our legislative General Assembly is only January through April. So there are critical decisions that are being made right now in terms of budget, dollars, revenue, education, transportation, that individuals that live in those areas do not have representation.
State Senator Lena Taylor, what did you think when you saw these expulsions? Because I have to, refresh the audience's memory. I met you when you and several of your colleagues had run away. I mean, this was a huge national story. And to my surprise, Jeremy, my technical producer, I walked into Reverend's office and she was sitting right there with her colleagues. I was about to pass out. I said, Lord, have mercy, Reverend. Are we all gonna get arrested this morning? Just this is not gonna be the best start of my day. But tell me, what happened to you? And do you see any parallels here?
Well, what happened to me is we decided to deny quorum of our then governor, who had a budget repair bill, is what it was called, and in it was like 165 pages, and in it there were quite a few items. But one of the main items that surfaced to the top in our denial of quorum, leaving the state to deny quorum, was what I categorized as trying to destroy unions. And in particular, it was 14 of us. We left the state, headed to Rockford, Illinois. Most people made it to Rockford. Some of us never made it to Rockford as we got lost on our way. We, quorum so that they could not pass that bill because it required quorum to deal with something that had financial obligations. And so anyway, long story short, we left the state. I went to Reverend Jackson because media blocked us in Wisconsin. So when we left the state and went to Reverend, it completely gave us national exposure. And we went on like the young representatives are now, went on a media circuit tour, myself and my colleague, John Urbanbach. And so we shared that. Now, what did it do to us in our house? You know, if the climate was like it is now, we too may have been expelled. They were upset. They tried to sanction our salaries. They had the sheriff at my house trying to look for me in order to be able to arrest us and bring us back. It was a 3-week kind of experience. We did what Abraham Lincoln did, except I didn't jump out of window to deny quorum. Okay. And I will tell you that it made my colleagues hot as fish grease. Okay. Hot as fish grease. And when I mean they treated us like that when we got back, everything from wanting to sanction our salary, they were trying to figure out what to do. So when I saw what happened to these young men, and at the time, the threat of what was going to happen to these young men and their colleague, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a lot. And, I didn't have all the facts. So I will say, even if, I'm going to say it like this, even if there was a decorum issue on what they did, because my congresswoman and one of my colleagues before had, basically not protested, but were speaking on the floor out of turn. And my colleague went and took the mic from, I don't recall who went and attempted to take the mic from, I want to say like the clerk or something like that. And they could have expelled him, for that. He and my now congresswoman were both state senators when that happened. So my point is that a behavior had happened before me, a behavior had happened with me in the 14, and they wanted to get rid of us and some stuff for decorum. So with these young men, what I saw was them pushing back. And I know everyone is speaking about what kind of pushed them to that place, which was the protest, the gun protest that was happening. But what I love that the representative said is that sometimes you may have to go against quorum. You may have to push the envelope, if you have been denied an opportunity even to be able to have your voice heard. And that is what I think is the larger issue. Mm-hmm. Their colleagues were pissed because they did not let the RNC convention come. That's what they was pissed about that. And then on top of it, you got the audacity not to stay in your place and to respond and speak the way that you were speaking when we are denying you. And then on top of it, you bought a bullhorn, little bitty bullhorn. It wasn't a big one like the one I be using, okay? The opportunity to speak was my understanding. So when I saw that, the first thing I'm just going to say is I said, oh, I want to be like them. I appreciate their fight.
And you know what? I will tell you this as we go to break, because I want you to continue, and I want to hear from you, Dwight, and you, Joseph Kiles. I want I want us to give Gloria Johnson, their colleague, credit. She was not expelled, but she was nearly expelled. But she stood with them, and she still stands with them. State Senator Taylor, she has stood with them, and she has put it out there. She said, "I am a white woman. I have not been expelled. I barely missed it, but I'm still here. They're not." She said, "Read into that what you will." So do not. It is the Tennessee Three, and they are still united. Everybody, Justin Pearson, Justin Jones, and Gloria Johnson. Two of them have been expelled. One is still in the body. But let's talk about it. 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. You got to be at our convention, the Rainbow Push Convention, July 15th through the 19th. We're going to be talking about these issues and more. Back in just a moment.
You'll be there between each leg and a glory. And I don't know who Gladys Knight was talking about, but you know what?
Yep. Hello?
Your opinion
Yes, what's your
counts.
name?
1-866-594-HOPE. That's
All right. You want to make a
1-866-594-4673.
comment on what's on the topic today, Todd?
Yes.
Where are you calling from?
That's all. John.
All right, hold on, Todd.
Who is it?
Todd from Georgia.
Todd.
Yes.
Okay. Dwight McGee.
Yes.
Hey, we're coming right to you, but you're on with State Senator Lena Taylor, who will take a bullhorn. Joseph Kiles. I said they remind me of Lena, but this is something she would do. Whew. But I mean, I don't want us to forget Representative Johnson and all of this.
Yes, I think that was such a good point that you brought up, and I'm definitely feeling the same thing. I'm just going to be candid. There was, if my understanding, maybe a fourth legislator, and so I was hoping to get a little bit more of that did not. I don't know why that person was not included in the original statement of doing something inappropriate. And then with Representative Johnson only surviving really by one
vote. And she was on her way out of there too. And only heaven knows what she's having to endure now that she's by herself.
Well, what those representatives had to endure in the hallway when they weren't on the floor and other inappropriate comments. See, all of that, and that's what I'm trying to also say.
No, I want you to come back and give us that.
No, I get it. But for Facebook Live, for all of that, it made the environment, right, that legislators to make the choices that they did. And what I also did not get to say is that it was March 1st in my state, there was a piece of legislation that was done that said if they
No, stand by.
Keep hope alive.
Stand by. We're coming up.
Jesse Jackson. Call 1-866-594-HOPE. That's 1-866-594-4673.
Yes.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Happy Resurrection Sunday. I'm Santita Jackson. We're talking about the Tennessee Three. Justin Pearson, Justin Jones, Gloria Johnson. The two Justins are now former state representatives of Tennessee. They were expelled. They lost their jobs. And Gloria Johnson barely held on to her job by one vote. They were going to throw her out too. And we've been talking with Joseph Kiles, who has been working with the Tennessee Three. He's the head of Push Memphis, Rainbow Push Memphis. But we have yet to hear from Dwight McKee. We're going to hear from him shortly, Robert Patillo and others. We are talking to State Senator Lena Taylor, who has faced this kind of opposition from within the chamber. I mean, and you were making the point on Facebook Live on the Reverend Jesse Jackson page, Santita Jackson and Friends page, and on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. You were making the point that, there is a we see the public decorum, but the private interactions can be pretty harsh. I mean, when they're not on camera, what these representatives have to endure from their colleagues. State Senator Taylor?
Yes, I'm just saying that what they've had to endure is something that I think we should be looking for and looking at happening across the nation. What we had to endure when we left the state, the intensity when we got back was clear. And I was trying to say that I think that the entire environment that got things where it was had something to do also with the fact that the RNC convention was stopped, and that, made legislators feel some kind of way. And then in addition to that, you got the audacity based on how they spoke with these representatives. These men, grown men, they may be young, but grown men. And these grown men deserve not to be spoken to the way that they have by their colleagues. So all of that together, coupled with you not about to let me speak now, and they responded in the way that they did. In Wisconsin, we already have seen legislation that was circulated that says if they remove somebody, that they can't be reappointed, is what the legislation says. If they remove a local elected, that person cannot be reappointed, is the legislation. It has a hearing next week, this week coming. And so this is the kind of behavior we're going to see across the nation. So when I saw them, to go to your original question, Santita, I was shocked to see that their colleagues were doing it a little bit, but proud of the way that they responded, and so proud of the way the nation has responded. And their colleague, Representative Johnson, see, that's the kind of representative, that's the kind of colleagues you want to have. One that stands with you when you go to stand up, and one that stands with you regardless if they receive the same kind of treatment. This is the difference, I'm also going to say, in this generation. They're not willing to take the same stuff that other generations have taken. They push a little differently. And I love that also. I'm just going to say it, Gabe. It gives me kind of a sense of rejuvenation, a sense of hope, right? That there's a fight in people to demand more.
Well, absolutely.
Because power.
Absolutely. I mean, and the fact is, they don't have to take the same things as their foreparents took it for them, right? I mean, it's in the cut because their foreparents were killed. So they could get in that space and deal with what they're dealing with. They're simply dealing with the fight of their generation, Dwight McKee. Before we go on to Attorney Jones and Attorney Patillo, Attorney Patillo needs to meet Joseph Kiles because Attorney Patillo has a great show today on WAOK, as does Attorney C.K. Hoffler. And Attorney Patillo is trying to get you and the two Justins on. So I'm going to facilitate that introduction. But Dwight McKee, what are you hearing?
Well, one of those forefathers was David Crockett.
Oh.
He was actually a state legislator. He was in that body. And he was known of the wild frontier. And the reason he had guns, and the reason they had guns is because they were necessary when you steal somebody's labor and you steal somebody's land. Then the only way to protect that is you have to have guns. Otherwise, you meet resistance from slaves and neighbors who you were violating and stealing their land and stealing their labor. He also was running slaves into Texas and facilitated the Alamo to steal the land from the Mexicans there. David Crockett, he came out of that body. Is that in that culture is what we look at that, where these people are obsessed with guns, as were their forefathers, and they feel that the right to bear arms is essential to their survival in many ways because it works. Because had justice prevailed, the people who they exploited and they stole from would have had some redress. And so in many ways they love their arms more than they love their uncles. They love their ammunition and their rifles more than they love their relatives. They love their guns more than they love their girls. They are fixated on guns, and they would rather lose their children. They would rather sacrifice their children rather than come to terms with these arms and this ammunition is doing to their own girls and boys. It's a real pathology that needs some public examination. It is a pox upon the nation, but you really can't get them out. You really won't let that go.
Unbelievable. Attorney Robert Patillo, your thoughts? Attorney Patillo?
Good morning. It's interesting to me because we've been talking for several years now about the rising right-wing fascist movement in America. And the conservatives have told us, we're crazy. There's no rising fascist movement, etc. These are just patriots. This is fascism. This is exactly what fascism looks like on a state and local level. If you look at when Mussolini stormed the capital in Italy, this is what they did next. They started expelling their political opponents. And it's not just happening in Tennessee. In Wisconsin, the state senate there is one vote away from being able to have the type of constitutional majority needed to unilaterally impeach the Supreme Court justice that was just elected this week because they want to have a majority in that body. In North Carolina, with the Democrat who just switched from Democrat to Republican, they're going to have the type of filibuster-proof majority now that they can override any veto from the governor of that state. We're seeing in states around the country that during those Obama years, those Obama for America years, from 2008 till probably about 2016, you had around 1,044 seats that were lost on the state and local level from Democrat to Republican. And they are using that now to push forward this fascist agenda, which says we do not care what the will of the people is. We do not care if we can win elections or not. We do not care about demographics. This is boldly and coldly about political power, political efficiency, and the ability to push forward our agenda. And if we do not take this rising fascism seriously, all we have to do is look what's happening in Europe right now. You've got Israel, which is elected the most right-wing government in the history of the nation, going back to their founding. You have Giorgia Meloni, who's a neo-fascist in Italy, who's a new prime minister. We've seen the rise of the conservative movement in Britain, which led them into Brexit and then into economic collapse there. You have the neo-fascists such as Viktor Orban and Erdogan. Viktor Yushchenko are rising throughout Europe. We can look at the Central Asian Republic, where you also have this rising fascist movement. Let's not pretending that America is a space station existing outside of this, what's going on globally. We're seeing the exact same thing go on now that we saw happening in the 1930s. The war in Eastern Europe, rising right-wing nationalism, the brown shirt movement that was here in America is now the MAGA movement that's here in America, and we don't put a stop to it now. It's going to be too late. The last time we let this happen, 100 million people died. It's our duty and our responsibility to put a stop to this now.
Attorney Darrell Jones.
You know, I listened with great interest to what Robert Patillo and Dwight McKee have laid out. And I think they've brilliantly indicated where we are right now as a nation, as a people, and what do we stand for. They've gone through the history. They've tied the history to the current analysis of what's happening in Tennessee. They're 100% on point. The question posed now is, what are we going to do about it? We see what they're doing. We see how they've done it. You know, what we call on right now is for everybody to go to your state legislative body, demand that they condemn the actions of Tennessee. Don't stop there. Go to your local board, you know, wherever it may be, your county, your city government, demand that they pass a resolution condemning what has happened. Don't stop there. Follow through with the resolution. Follow through with what's happening. Go to your local body meeting. Be certain that you know where your elected officials are coming from, because this is what it's about. Because what's happening in Tennessee is called voter suppression and intimidation. Because what they're trying to do is saying to the folks in Memphis and Nashville and in those areas, your votes don't matter. We don't care who you put in office. We're going to silence your voice. This is that time where everybody that supports freedom of speech, that supports voting rights without being intimidated, without being ostracized, without being gerrymandered out. This is this time for you to stand up right now. And it's not just Tennessee, because it happens across this country. But now is the time that the flag has been raised, the line has been drawn. Where do you stand? Are you going to be on the side of being quiet and just watching what happens to you, or are you going to be an active participant? Now is that time to get involved and be certain that everybody's right is protected. The Justins, that is, the two Justins in Tennessee, they're showing you the way to fight. They're showing you the way to fight. The question is, will you pick up your responsibility and stand with them across this country? That's as I see it right now, Santita, and that's the call that the Transformative Justice Coalition and some of our partners are all making for everyone across this country, wherever you are. If you think you know where your legislative body stands, state or local, put them on record. Make them vote on the resolution saying they condemn Tennessee. That's where we are right now.
Before we go to you, Todd, from Albany, Georgia, we have Texas Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis, who, like you, State Senator Lena Taylor, he's had to deal with the same thing as a state senator. You all have been runaways. But expulsion, Commissioner Ellis, what did we just see here?
Yeah, I was so proud. I couldn't agree more with the sentiments of the previous speaker, but I was so proud of those state legislators for standing up. I had the privilege of meeting both of them at the last conference of Black state legislators in Las Vegas. I'm in county government now, as you said, but I was in Texas Senate for 27 years. Being an old man, I remember in 2003, we broke the quorum. The House members went to Ardmore, Oklahoma, if you remember that, over redistricting. They wanted to draw the lines again so Republicans could get more power. Then on the Senate side, we broke the quorum and went to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Of course, a younger generation of state legislation in Texas helped to put voter suppression on the front lines. They packed up and went to Washington, D.C. For about 2 months. And then we see what's happening in Tennessee. I've been calling former colleagues and current colleagues around the country. I'm sending some money to Tennessee. I hope they'll both be reappointed by their local boards. But if they're not appointed, help pay the legal fees. I think we'll be on the precipice of another legal challenge that'll go all the way through federal courts, as was the case with Julian Bond, if they don't seat them. But I do think the idea of passing resolutions, trying to get other folks to engage in some form of protest, whether it be athletes, whoever, and thinking about how to put pressure on the Republicans that control that state where it hurts. You know, I know first thought would be to try and boycott the urban areas. Well, you know, that sales tax money goes to those local units of government that'll probably support it. I think both of those local boards will reappoint them. But all around this country, what you see is what happened after Reconstruction. In most urban areas around the country where the Democrats, people of color, tend to be in control, and we vote for Democrats, state legislatures are now taking away the power of local control to put pressure on our people. You know, even in my state, they're doing crazy stuff. The Republicans want to do a pay raise. Governor's pushing a pay raise, but they're going to give a higher amount to the urban areas where it takes less to live, and they don't have as much of a challenge holding on the teachers. But look, I want to close with this. I was so proud of the oratory of, as your previous speaker said, the two justices. So those two young men, they weren't reading a teleprompter. That was heartfelt. Mm-hmm. That was not practiced. They didn't have time, and that came up so quickly without any thought. You know, I think we ought to put the maximum pressure we can on.
Todd, you can close us out. I got about a minute and a half before we go to break. No. Todd from Albany, Georgia.
Oh, I can't see.
Todd, how you doing? Happy Resurrection Sunday.
I just want to discuss about
that tap on Tennessee, the Republic Jones, put in the black and stamp corporation like that. That's a whole lot of torment. They're right now because they got to get rid of the guns. Survive that. You know?
Yes.
Shooting in school. Now I hate that. I got a daughter, but that was not the point. The gun. Yeah.
Getting rid of the guns.
Like I say, I'm not against myself to be white, but I'm a black man, and that's what counts.
That's one of the other, as President Gotar had told me to say to you all, but you all know the difference between behavior and behavior. If you're grown, then behavior and behavior. So I just want to say, tap on that, and to cut it short, I just want them to just draw a gun with it. Police ain't no good either, but you know. It's just something. We just got to put it together.
Amen. No.
Yeah, I think you were saying 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. But I do want them to wake up. Don't smell the coffee. Coffee ain't with it, but
they'll wake up. Goes in my cup.
Well, you know, Mr. Todd, I want to thank you for listening to us down there in Albany, Georgia. I hope that you have a blessed, you and your family, and that beautiful, beautiful place called Albany, the birthplace of so much greatness. Thank you. I hope that you will tell more people about the show, and we're so glad to be able to serve you. Everybody, happy Resurrection Sunday, July 15th through the 19th. We have our international conference, Rainbow Push Coalition convention. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. We'll be talking about topics like these, State Senator Lena Taylor, and more. Texas Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis will be talking about this and more. Attorney Daryl Jones, Attorney Robert Patillo, Dwight McKee, all of you will be participating in the convention. Joseph Kiles, of course. Going to get some reaction from you on the other side of the break. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson, 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. Please join us at our convention this summer. Go to rainbowpush.org for more information. You do not want to miss it because it is morning in America. Wake up, everybody. Back in just a moment.
Coming up, we'll have closing thoughts from Reverend Jesse Jackson right here on Keep Hope Alive.
I took too long yesterday. I didn't hear a phone.
Oh my goodness. Have you and Jonathan been biking lately?
You know, when I was in Chicago last weekend, I didn't see, but I was there. And I saw Rev, of course. And I went to the Sanders rally and Brandon Johnson and Martin. But I told Johnson, I saw those bike lanes running through all kinds of neighborhoods. So at the conference, I told him we have to have when we do the annual convention, we need to have a bike ride as well in July. It was cold in Chicago. It was warm Thursday. It was decent Thursday.
Well, it's going to be nice and warm in July. Trust and believe, I guess.
Oh, that'll be spring weather for me coming for you.
Sure. Well, God bless you. And, at least you'll be on the lakefront.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's where Jonathan rides. Because, it's just down the street.
Yeah, I saw Rev's place as well. I met with Rev and Miss J.
Oh, so you can see how she is. She's trying to hold it down. He is driving her nuts. Oh, oh, my poor mom. But they've been together 62 years. Can you believe it?
I know it. That is amazing.
It's amazing. Wow.
It's amazing. I'm so proud of you all for pulling off that mayor's race.
Well, me too. But now the work begins, because now we have to push to get what we want. It's one thing to get who you want, but now you need to get what you need.
And when all of the money has disappeared.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. This is going to be a lot. Because, also with what's happening with the Obama Center, so many Black people are being displaced from that area. That was a Black area. And
yeah,
so,
I saw that rent is going up.
Well, that area is controlled by the University of Chicago, and they are like, that's Rockefeller. Those are big, big landowners. Dwight McKee knows this so well. Dwight?
Yeah, it's a big fight, even still. The community is trying to get a contract with them, a community benefits contract, and Obama, a library will not give them one. They're saying, trust us, trust us, trust us. At the same time, the area is remarkably gentrified. And the people that live there have been displaced because the rents are going up, the houses are being sold. And it looks to be a very sophisticated land grab by the University of Chicago, who's been trying to expand itself to the other side of, all the way to the expressway. And so there's a group here called the Friends of the Park. It's mostly a white group. And they see it really as a violation of the city charter, because the city charter is set up in such a way as nobody is supposed to be able to build up right off the lake or be able to take their land. And they feel like shenanigans have been made. In fact, the Lucas Museum had to move out of here because they couldn't annex land off the lake.
Oh.
And he had $1 billion to work with.
George Lucas. That's right.
They were going to put a Star Wars museum down there. And the Friends of the lake stopped it. But they didn't have, he didn't have the kind of political power that Obama had at the University of Chicago.
Stand
which pretty much kind of
No, that's a whole lot. You've given us a lot of information, because that neighborhood Commissioner, it's not looking the way it used to look.
10 seconds.
And will it be right on the lake?
Yep.
5 seconds.
Yep. A few blocks away. Across the park. Hey, everybody. July 15th through the 19th, the Rainbow Push International Conference. We will be talking about the Tennessee 3. We will be talking about election 2024. We will be talking about the Chicago election. We will be talking about affordable housing, affirmative action, women's reproductive rights. So much is on the table right now. The movement is moving on. The push is on. Can we count on you? There's work for us to do. Those are words that James Cleveland wrote as our marching music more than 50 years ago. He wrote that for Reverend Jackson and for Rainbow Push. The push is on. There's work for us to do. The push is on. The job is up to you. We can make this world a better place to live in right now. Can we count on you? July 15th through the 19th. Please go to rainbowpush.org. Get involved, everybody. Let's talk about the Tennessee 3. What is going to happen? Will they be reappointed to their offices? These two gentlemen, Justin Pearson and Justin Jones, will they face a re-election? Will, in the meantime, some legislation be passed that could block them from getting their seats? State Senator Lena Taylor, you're saying that's happening up in Wisconsin. This is insane. But these are the times in which we're living. You got to get involved, everybody. We're all excited about what happened in Wisconsin with your Supreme Court. We're excited about what happened in Chicago, but now the real work begins. Voting is the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end. Now you must get out and march. You must call the people who represent you and push them to do what you need them to do. Stay right here for more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes.
Thank you for listening to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. For more information on upcoming shows and guests, please visit our website.
You want to do the voicing for this? Because they have my voice. The original idea was for us. Okay. Robert Patillo. Robert,
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to meet
Yes,
Joseph
ma'am.
Kiles. Joseph, Robert is the immediate past head of our Southeastern Regional Office in Atlanta. He's still very active with us. Has been working with Reverend since he was in college at Clark. And he has a big radio show down at WAOK in Atlanta. And he is trying to get you and Justin Jones and Justin Pearson on his show. May I share your information with one another? Because his show is on from 1 to 4 today, Eastern Standard Time.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Robert Patillo, meet Joseph Kiles. Joseph Kiles, meet Attorney Patillo.
How are you, brother? I will. I'll reach out to you after we get off air. We can coordinate for later today. Okay, sounds great.
Now watch it, because his show, he is a nut. I'm telling you that right now. 'Cause, I mean, honey, you don't know.
And if it is possible,
yes,
if it is possible to share the information with me, because we would love to be able to have them on some shows in Wisconsin in particular. My chief of staff does a show.
Let me do
and we
this.
would love
I'm gonna put all you all on the same chain, okay?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Stand by.
4673.
Okay.
And now, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Someone's calling in.
Keep up alive.
Fred from Los Angeles, so I got to respond to this.
All right, hold on, Fred.
Jesus hung on the people came from miles to see.
Oh my goodness. I could listen to these songs all day. It reminds me of just being on my great grandmother's lap and my grandmother's lap as we play these songs, because my grandma Helen and my great grandmama Tibby only played religious music in their household. Wow. I think about this and oh, thank God for them and my grandmother Gertrude. Oh, today on Resurrection Sunday, let me not get too emotional about that. I miss those women. I miss them, and I carry them in my heart forever. I'm sure all of you have that experience today. Let's talk on Resurrection Sunday. Jesus rose, Jesus lives, Jesus is alive. When I see Tennessee State Representatives Gloria Johnson, Justin Pearson, and Justin Jones basically turning over the tables in the temple, I think of Jesus, who saw injustice and said, an unjust law has to be broken. There is no peace without justice. Can't have it. So what do you think about what happened in Tennessee? I mean, people, Joseph Kiles, you said people have actually urinated on the floor, in the well. Well, you got to explain what? Huh? Joseph Kyles? I mean, that's before we go to break, that sounds crazy. You've had Klansmen? What? No, explain who had what? No, just tell people that before, because I'm going to have you give us an overview when we get back from the break.
I think about State Representative Barbara Cooper. She represented our district for almost 40 years. The district that runs along the Mississippi River. It is a very diverse group. But Justin Pearson was a mentee of Barbara Cooper. He learned. He sat at her feet and he learned. And what they attempted to do, if you didn't hear it, in the vein of their protest was about what John Lewis did in the U.S. House and on the floor. And they, while it may have been out of decorum, it is necessary to change the hearts and minds of those who make laws and pass laws that affect us. So, that's what we're looking at. How do we reach the hearts and minds of individuals to change the laws? There's no reason for a battle weapon to be in the hands of ordinary citizens.
Everybody, I want you to call us at 773-7. No, wrong show. 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. I'm thinking of my show on WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. We were Air America. Now we're WCPT, but we still have a national audience, international audience, quite frankly. And I want you to join me from 6 to 8 Central Standard Time in Chicago. That's where I'm based, but we're in syndication now, thanks to you. And of course, go to iHeart here. And please come to our convention. Get registered. Get involved, everybody. We want to see you in Chicago, July 15th through the 19th. You do not want to miss this convention because we're going to be talking about this issue and so many more. Everything that is relevant will be on the table at the Rainbow Push International Conference. So let's talk about the expulsions of these. Well, Gloria Johnson was almost expelled by one vote. She only stayed in the body by one vote. But Justin Pearson and Justin Jones, they are now former state representatives. But, what did Diana, Princess of Wales, her brother said, she didn't need to be Her Royal Highness to be royal. They represent the people, whether they have an office and draw a government check or not. State Senator Lena Taylor, who faced down the same kind of threats as Wisconsin State Senator. Then State Senator Rodney Ellis, now Texas Harris County Commissioner, as State Senator, faced down the same threat. And we'll be hearing from Joseph Kyles, the head of Rainbow Push Memphis, Dwight McKee, social scientist. Indeed, one of he and Aline Walker were the two youngest founding board members of Operation Push more than 50 years ago. Attorney Darrell Jones, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Attorney Robert Patillo, please check his show out today from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Attorney Darrell Jones, Tuesday at 12 noon on WOL. Whew, here we go, everybody. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes.
For he knew that Satan was a if he had come down
Your opinion counts. 1-866-594-HOPE. That's 1-866-594-4673.
Okay, everybody, you all can speak to each other now.
I'm enjoying that music. I'm getting my gospel on before church.
What you say?
I'm getting my gospel on before church. I'm going to ride my bicycle by a few churches this morning.
Ooh.
I'm not wearing spandex as I am going. I may not go in, but I'm going to stop by a few lobbies.
That's right. Please don't go in there in spandex. Don't.
The Lord says, "Come as you are."
Not in black churches. Now you know in black churches you don't do that. You get kicked out the body. I love them. Because in my church, women didn't wear pants. And now things have changed, but I grew up with that. And so even the thought of wearing pants is like, it takes me to faraway places and leaves me there. Because I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Wear pants in church? What? Who?
No way. No, that does not happen. Somebody else's church.
Yeah. It's like, no, I couldn't do that, y'all. Ooh.
Where's Reverend today?
You know what? Exhausted. But
Yeah, he pushed pretty hard when he was in Houston, by the way. He went to Chicago, Houston.
You all gave
And then he went to Kentucky, I think.
You treated him so well, but boy, oh boy, that you could see that trip wore him out. You know, he's accustomed to burning the candle at both ends. Like, Daddy, when you do that, you pay. But you know, it keeps him going.
Get to go see Reverend Bill Lawson. Lawson's 93, I think, and it was really special. The two of them slowed down and in wheelchairs at 93.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Wow!
I'll send you some pictures, and it was time for Reverend to go get some rest. But you know, he wants to keep going.
Yeah, he does. Well, I'm glad I wasn't there because I would have said, "We're leaving," so he can give me my Grandma Helen's look, which is the evil eye. But I'm like, boy, oh boy. But and Daryl, you read my mind. I was going to include you on this chain anyway, which is what I've just done.
Thank you so much, Cynthia.
No. And I just sent all of you a short message, but I've put you all on this chain. Commissioner Ellis, would you like to be on this too?
Yeah, please do. It's always good to hear Senator Taylor's voice, by the way. Lena, how you doing?
Doing well. Love you. Thank you so much.
I was watching all this and thinking I may call you afterwards because I meant to check and see what Mandela Barnes is doing now. And I haven't called him. I texted him a couple of times.
He has a PAC. He kept about $1 million from his race. And he started a PAC that he is now running. And so that's where he's at and what he's doing. He was actually my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Bless your heart. Bless your heart.
They had their regional conference in Milwaukee, and so he was at the public meeting. I saw him there.
Bless her heart. Bless her heart. Lena's all right except for that, but that's all good.
Oh, my goodness.
A chill went up my spine.
Hey, you all know we have a big race over in Houston from there. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's going to run.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, get out. Okay.
Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee will be running for mayor of Houston. And she got in late. I was one of those who encouraged her to get in. And whether or not it'll clear the field or some of our other great candidates, I don't know. One did step out and decide to run for controller. That's another brilliant young sister.
Hold on, because we got to talk about that because I didn't know that's what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do? Okay, let's turn up. James Cleveland, you're about to have a good time. Commissioner Ellis.
Life's ups and downs. God's been good to me. And the downs have been few. Well, I guess you can say God has blessed me. I heard Gladys Knight sing this song the other day. But there never been a time in my life He didn't bring me through. I changed the word. If anyone should ever ride by life's storm,
can hear that. That James Cleveland, my goodness, got a full house today. John Nichols is on MSNBC, but he said he wants to stick his head in, and once he's done, he's going to do that. We're talking with Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor, and then Texas State Senator Rodney Ellis, now Texas Harris County Commissioner. They dealt with the same thing, these expulsions. We're talking about these Tennessee expulsions. Dwight McKee, of course, brilliant social scientist, founding member of Operation Push. Joseph Kyles, head of the Rainbow Push office in Memphis, of course. Attorney Darrell Jones, Transformative Justice Coalition, the chair. And, of course, Rainbow Push and WAOK host this afternoon from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. WAOK and, of course, Attorney Darrell Jones and Attorney Barbara Arnwine are on at 12 noon every Tuesday on WOL. Fred from Los Angeles. Fred, what's on your mind? Happy Resurrection Sunday.
But, this all started with Alvin Bragg and the charges that were trumped up on Trump.
I got some things here I wrote down. They call lying by omission. Use the word parallel, fascism with Mussolini, snatch representation, punitive, overturn elections. I've been all over the world. Been to Red China twice, even been to Tiananmen Square. Some of the things that people ask you around the world is they used to say, in your country, they don't put you in jail for being in opposition to the government. But we saw that with Alvin Bragg. Now, countries like Mexico, Venezuela, Soviet Union, ask Brittany Griner, Deng Xiaoping in the old China, North Korea, Cambodia, Pol Pot regime, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and this is what that was all about. And the Tennessee legislators would have never did this. It was clearly in retaliation for what the Democrats did. You guys want to respond?
What did the Democrats do, Fred?
In the New York City, and trumped up charges with on it to keep him out of the political process.
But you know, Fred, they said that they were protesting. They are down in the heart of Tennessee, where they've had the deadliest shooting that they've had in memory. And they felt that the legislature was not paying sufficient attention to curbing gun violence, not just ending it, but just at least curbing it. And they want some common sense gun legislation. That is what they are looking at. They didn't even, I don't think Trump was on their minds at all.
Their cause is noble. Apparently you're not seeing the parallel. They came there and protested and got ugly. And what we don't do up until last week or 2 weeks ago is put political prisoners. We don't take their offices away like
Dr. King lived in political prison. He lived under an IRS audit every year of his public life. I know what my parents have endured. Anyone who is a dissident to the status quo has to deal with that. Now that's real. And I'm just telling you what my lived experience has been. The Red Squad, which is the same group that killed Fred Hampton, they sent someone to kill my father. And this was someone I knew who was my Uncle Howard. So please don't talk to me about how political dissidents are treated. I know what I've lived with. I have a lived experience on that. But does anyone want? No. I'm making your point. I'm saying we do have political prisoners in the United States of America. We do. And the point is, should these men have been expelled or not? Your answer. Give that to me.
We shouldn't have this in our country. We shouldn't have this.
Okay. I'm just trying. But Ed, Fred, sweetie, sometimes I think you just call because you just want to have a fight. I'm trying to fight. No. Sometimes you just want to have a fight. I got you. You got your opinion. You got your attention. I'm trying to ask you a simple question because at some point, I'm not trying to fix the blame. I'm trying to fix the problem. What about them being expelled? Joseph Kyles, we need to get Joseph back. They have had people who have urinated on the floor and on the tables in that same well. They were not expelled. You've had members of the Klan who were not expelled. You've had people who've had inappropriate conduct with members of the opposite sex. It could have been the same sex. I don't even care. But in this particular case, this man violated 22 women. He was not expelled. And on and on and on. You had a Speaker of the House they caught him in some kind of malfeasance. He was not expelled. He was allowed to leave the speakership and keep his seat. I'm asking you, my question for you, I need it to be simple so I can get back to the panel and we can get on track here. Should they have been expelled, yes or no? Yeah. Okay. Now, I want you to respond, Robert Patillo, to what you've just heard.
There's a quote from Voltaire that comes to mind where he says, if a man can make you believe absurdities, he can force you to commit atrocities. And this is what we're seeing with the Republican side of the aisle right now. President Trump had the option to do his entire booking process over Zoom. He did not need to come to New York City. But he chose to do that because he wanted the spectacle. He wanted to raise the, I think, $5 million that he raised from the entire event. And now you have Republicans comparing that fundraising activity that he did to the fastest prosecution of African Americans and other groups around the country. We have real political prisoners in America: Malachi York, H. Rap Brown, Angela Davis. We have hundreds of political prisoners whose cases have never been resolved from the civil rights movement in this nation. The fact of President Trump having a bunch of prostitutes that he paid off and then having to deal with the business records associated with that is not a political prosecution by definition. But the reason that they continue down this line is they understand that they can force their people to believe any absurd thought. And when you do that, that is the gravamen, that is the basis of every fascist movement that we see around the world. You can go back centuries. They start with the fundamental lie. They start with this fundamental conceptualization around this hero figure. In this case, Trump. In other cases, Mussolini, on down the line. And then they start with these anti-democratic methods to remove people from office. The same thing we're seeing in Tennessee, that we're seeing in Wisconsin, that we're seeing in North Carolina. We saw the attack on the birth control or the abortion pill in Texas that came out this weekend. They're making it very clear. They are moving away from democracy, away from the representative republic that we were guaranteed in our Constitution, and they are moving towards fascism at the speed of light. And we can either decide we're going to stop here and buttress ourselves and fight back, or allow these absurd thoughts to continue going forward.
Dwight McKee, what do you see? What do you foresee?
That's because democracy has never been the goal. It's always been a means to an end. White supremacy is the goal. And they want to get there by any means necessary. And if democracy does not cooperate with that, then they're perfectly willing to spin the rules of democracy. And as a minority, take over government, because their ultimate goal is white supremacy, to stay in charge, to remain in charge. They have total control over the people and their resources. So I'm not surprised that they behave this way, because whenever the white people get behind, you change the rules. I used to say when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when Louis Alcindor played college ball, and he was a major guy in college who could dunk, they outlawed the dunk until he graduated. When Kurt Gibson was striking out all the white ball players, they lowered the mound because they couldn't tolerate him striking out the major white players. Is when Tiger Woods was dominating in tennis, they changed the rules. They changed the structure of the golf courses so he wouldn't have a strategic advantage. When Biles became the number one gymnast in the world, they began to grade her activities differently than they did everybody else who couldn't do what she could do. They are absolutely committed to being in charge and looking superior, even when they don't have skill level or the vote.
Well, I want you to call us at 866-594-HOPE. Is that you, Senator Taylor? Was someone about to jump in? Yeah, no. I mean, was someone, because...
And I agree with all that I've heard. I think what I've been thinking about is, what can we tell people to do in order to be able to be not only supportive of the Texas 3, but to be prepared for what's coming their way. And I think I tried to share that in our state, legislation is already, I mean, before the Tennessee 3, already has been put in place so that if they expel or if they remove someone, because they've already talked about during the campaign that they wanted to remove judges, that they wanted to remove prosecutors, that they want to remove the newly appointed Secretary of State. They're putting this in place so that if someone is removed, that they cannot be reseated. So this is something that I hope that people will pay attention to. I'm not certain, I haven't looked yet to see if it is an ALEC piece of legislation or whatever that they're doing, but what can we ask people to do? And I think writing the letters, doing the resolutions at different levels of government surely is important, but be prepared to go and testify in these hearings. Be prepared to speak to the issue and be present in these hearings where they're going to be usurping local government and making it where individuals will ultimately not have representation, although they have taxation while these processes go on.
Well, you know, State Senator Taylor, we first need to know that this kind of legislation is on track. That number one has been brought up because, you know, had you not brought this up, I wouldn't have known this at all. So, I mean, we've got to use these media outlets that we have and sound the alarm. I mean, we do a lot of laughing and giggling 5-6 days a week, you know, as if Black people live on a laugh track, as if Hispanic people, as if poor people who living under the boot live on a laugh track. I mean, what is this? This ain't Hollywood. This is real life.
Sure. That people use their positions to speak. You know, I often say, what use is someone who chooses to get elected and gets in the room and don't have nothing to say? You know, won't speak up. You know, when you're asking where is Black representation in the governor's office or in this or in that, and they have nothing to say. So we have to, you know, use these positions to make sure that we make demands on behalf of the very people that send us. And the people who send us, it's not just your vote. You got to be engaged. You got to show up so that numbers, so that they know, so that you know, first of all, and they know that numbers matter, so that your voice is heard. They were saying earlier, we're moving to fascism. We're moving to stuff that you never would think would happen. But it is happening. And the people have to be engaged. We need you to be engaged.
Well, you know, as I keep saying, Commissioner Ellis, the vote is the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end. That's when the real work begins.
I do want to point out that Representative Justin Jones is 27. Representative Justin Pierce is 29. I do want to give a shout out to Representative Gloria Johnson, who's 60. She is white. I'm proud of her for being triple age, double age, but being able to go with them. And she's a teacher, had experienced gun violence before. I want to give her a shout out as well, as all three, to the point that Senator Taylor was making. All of this does come from ALEC and other right-wing think groups that are well-funded. They are methodical. They are analytical. They're surgical in their approach. And they have us fighting on all fronts. They're taking away in various states the power of thoughtful judges who interpret the law and follow it as they see it based on their life experience. They call them progressive judges. They're trying to remove progressive prosecutors who follow the law as they see it. Tremendous discretion that prosecutors have in this country. The anti-DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion language, putting riders in state budgets, saying you can use no state money to operate those programs. And then in addition to a rider to the budget and attach them to the budget, they have separate bills. So they try it on both fronts. Oftentimes, riders are not legally enforceable if you challenge them, but usually nobody wants to challenge them because we've all put stuff in riders because we didn't have the votes to do a bill. In Texas, when I was in the Senate, I first established our Minority Women's Business Enterprise Program with a rider because I didn't have the votes when Democrats were in power. But I had the votes to slide it in as a rider, eventually put it in as a bill. We do need to have dialogue. In addition to the resolutions and the motion while it's hot in the press, we ought to reach out and talk to the two Justins and Gloria and their peers, some older, some that are new. What do they want? They're going to need money. Whatever these two young men do to make a living, one is a divinity student, I think from Vanderbilt, I'm not sure, or Duke. They got to go after how they make a living. So like you said, they'll be scrutinized in their taxes, their campaign spending, wherever they work. The legislature is a part-time job. So we want to make sure we wrap our arms around them. I know the Conference of Black State Legislators, I think, meets in Tennessee next year. They did this quickly, leading into a holiday weekend. The speaker is blamed more than anything in most state legislative bodies.
Hold that thought, because I want you to talk about this on the other side of the break, because they do need our support more than we even know. Just how they eat from day to day, that's under threat. When you are a dissident, that's what you live with. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes.
Your opinion counts. 1-866-59-4-HOPE.
That just, oh, Jesus.
Peter, I have a question.
No, just bring it down.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Could legislators hire them as staff until the process happens?
Can what now?
Could legislators hire them as staff until the process happens?
No, that's not in my purview. I mean,
I would
Darryl
think they
Jones.
should hire.
Does anyone know?
If you would present legislators, I'm sorry, is that Commissioner Ellis?
Yeah, they have small budgets. Lena, I don't know how it is, but for us in Texas, it's a pretty small budget. So that means they probably have to fire somebody if they're in session. That means they'd have to replace somebody to do it. But somebody ought to hire them. You know, I think the incoming chair of the National Black Caucus, state legislators, is a state rep over there, prominent minister in Nashville. I've texted him a few times. He responded. I'm sure they wanted to siege. But yeah, finding them a job somewhere there, something where they can continue to do what they have been doing, even if some lobby group hired them, advocacy group.
Absolutely. I mean, you can see, and that's how we have to think, you know, because our freedom fighters should not be starving out here and figuring out how to free us and how to eat. I mean, I know, look, this is something I lived. My mother told me when I went away to college, when I was taking my entrance exams in my high school, she said, I need you to finish at the top of your class. It was the most competitive school in the state. Because I need you to
That's a good idea. We should call them, and we want to make sure we find a way they do it so nobody comes at them in terms of their taxes, by the way. Even if they worked for somebody's campaign, so they can keep organizing.
Somebody's campaign, commissioner of somebody's business. You have some of these artists. I mean, some people can come together and pay them, and not just pay them a pittance.
And while it's hot, you know, because my reaction was, where can I send a check?
Yeah, because they need it, and I think you need to explain it, what their needs are. Stand by. And thank you so much for that. And I'm going to pitch that to you,
Senator Taylor. Later, when we get off, before I get on this church spike, I'm gonna call you.
Did everyone get the text? Y'all should have gotten it. Okay. because it's Resurrection Sunday. He is risen. Mary Magdalene, go tell him. And Mother Mary, your son is alive. Oh, my goodness. I'm Santita Jackson. Keep Up Alive with the Reverend Jesse Jackson. It's a joy and an honor to be with you today on Resurrection Sunday. To our Jewish and Muslim brothers and sisters, may you have a blessed Passover and a blessed Ramadan season. It's a holy season, and only God could have three of the world's biggest religions meet at this holy season. Only at this time would they kill Dr. King during Holy Week. Oh, hallelujah. And yet he lives. There is just so much it can make me just jump up and run, everybody. Call us at 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. You know what, Commissioner Ellis and Senator Lena Taylor and Dwight McKee and Attorney Darrell Jones and Attorney Robert Patillo, wonderful panel. Guess who just called in? Fresh off of his appearance on MSNBC. Senator Taylor, we're going to get back to you because we do want to talk about what it is that we can do to support these people because they got to eat. But I want to know, John Nichols, what are you thinking about? Of course, he's a national correspondent for The Nation magazine. What are you thinking about what you're seeing here about Justin Pearson, Justin Jones, and Gloria Johnson? It's the Tennessee Three, and she remains wedded. Thank you so much for continuing to remind us of that, Rodney Ellis, that she has not disengaged herself or dislodged herself from her colleagues who have been expelled. In fact, she has taken to their ways. She has said, look, I'm a white woman. You read into this what you will. I still have my seat by one vote. They're out of here. So, John Nichols, what do you see? What a week. What a week. Chicago, Wisconsin, now this.
Week. And I greet you all on Resurrection Sunday and on this wonderful day of intersection for Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And it is one of those times when we see so many things happening, so many good things, but also challenging things, that it's vital to have a show like this where we can focus. And what we should focus on is, as Senator Taylor and others have been saying, Commissioner Ellis, we should focus on solidarity with the two legislators who have been removed from their positions in Tennessee, and also on, great respect for the third legislator who wasn't removed but has been a true ally. And this is vital because this is a national issue. And I'll throw a couple of quick things in here. First and foremost, this has happened before. When Julian Bond was elected to the state legislature in Georgia in 1965, the Georgia legislature refused to seat him because Julian Bond wanted peace in Vietnam, just like Dr. King. And so they refused to seat him, and Julian Bond was tossed aside. He was removed. It became a national issue. But Julian Bond did not give up. He went back to the voters of his district. He got reelected. They sent him there again. Still, that legislature tried not to seat him. He went through the courts, and he was eventually seated and became one of the great political leaders of the 20th century. And so it is vital to understand that these young men who have been removed, they aren't going away. They will remain steadfast. They will be supported, I believe, by their constituents. And I believe that they will go on to be two of the great political leaders of the 21st century. The second thing I will note is that, and I say this from the great state of Wisconsin, 10 years ago, and Lena Taylor, my dear friend, would confirm this, 10, 12 years ago, Wisconsinites had lost elections. They had lost all sorts of battles. They had lost in the courts. And Wisconsin progressives felt really beaten down, like they had no way up. It was an incredibly tough moment, one where a lot of people could have given up. But people didn't give up. And over this last 12, especially the last 10 years, Wisconsin progressives have organized in big cities and small towns, building a statewide coalition that on April 4 elected Janet Protasiewicz to the state Supreme Court by a 200,000 vote margin, an 11-point victory, and shifted control of that court, which had so frequently backed the right wing, to a liberal majority. And I want people in Tennessee and across this country to know
that if you remain steadfast, if you fight on, even when you're knocked down, there will come a morning where you will look at election results and recognize that the tide has turned. The moment has changed. Wisconsin is not all the way to where it needs to be. There are still many battles ahead. But what I can tell you is that when they try to beat us down, to shut us down, to expel us, to silence us, we don't let it happen. We push back. And I know that our two legislators in Tennessee, they're not going to be stopped. This expulsion isn't going to be the end of anything. It's actually the beginning of something great.
Absolutely. You know what? Senator Lena Taylor and, of course, former state Senator Rodney Ellis, whom you know them both, and of course, Texas Harris County Commissioner, present day Rodney Ellis, we're talking back and forth about the support that these gentlemen need, because now they don't have jobs. Senator
right.
Taylor.
And if I can,
yes.
Well, let me just, before I have to apologize, I have to go to church.
But if I can just, before I leave, add one last note, then hand it off to Senator Taylor, who is so wise. I will tell you that support is vital in this point. They need to be strong enough, in their circumstance, so that they can and will be reelected to that legislature. Mm-hmm. It's vital that they return to the legislature and do so as Julian Bond did, do so as others have in the past, because this cannot stand. Democracy, it's not just about these two young men. It's about democracy itself. Democracy cannot accept the expulsion of duly elected officials. So it is vital that they have a national show of love and solidarity and support that gets them through this moment, and that sees them through to the re-election to the state legislature, so that they can stand on the floor of that legislature and say, you tried to get rid of us, but we aren't going anywhere. And with that, I send you all love and solidarity and great blessings on this Resurrection Sunday. I really am so glad to be often a part of this show and to be on with people like Commissioner Ellis and State Senator Lena Taylor.
Well, and of course, you, Santita.
Well, please, your family. You're part of the fabric of the show. And that's why we were so glad that you were able to, jump in with your family this morning. But, what we were looking at, John Nichols, is just on a practical level, what these young men need. I mean, and oftentimes, when Dr. King died, I don't know if he had $100 in his bank account. Dwight, as you well know, sadly, you take a vow of poverty while you're helping enrich everybody else. And these young men need to eat. You bring up the point, Senator Ellis, former Senator Ellis and Commissioner Ellis, that now they are going to be facing audits. They are now in the crosshairs of the IRS. They are now in the crosshairs of the police. They are now on point. And they need physical protection. And they need economic protection. Senator Taylor, first you and then Senator Ellis, then former Senator Ellis, now Commissioner Ellis. Senator Taylor, why did you bring this up? I mean, and what do you think that they need as you see it?
Well, I brought it up because I've lived it. I mean, when we left the state, you leave your home, you leave everything that you have in it that allows you to be able to live your life, comfortably, and so you have to acquire things while you're gone. That's, that costs money. You have to eat while you're gone. You don't get to use what you already have in your refrigerator. You might not be somewhere where you can even cook, so you have to buy food where you're at if you're not blessed to be somewhere where you can, not have to buy it, so to say. So these young men at least are able to be in their homes, but they've lost their way of livelihood. And so it's very important. People gave us $14, $1.40. They gave us, $1,440. They did stuff in increments, showing the 14. So maybe people are going to do $3, $30, $300, $3,000 if they're going to send to these young men if their limits allow those things. But the point is that getting something to help them matters. And so I brought up, can individuals who are presently in the legislature, especially the minority leader, they normally have some cushion on staffing. You know, are they able to hire these two young men to be able to be on staff and in the building until this, you know, everything is worked out? Because the reality is that you need to be thinking that way on their behalf because they've lost their livelihood. Think about, because you stood up for the people, you know, that you are now unable, to necessarily pay your bills because you don't have a check coming in to do that. It just stopped abruptly.
When most people are living paycheck to paycheck, you know, and barely able to make that.
Exactly, because it's already the public servant in this capacity, elected public servant. Normally, you ain't even making. You know, most legislators are not even making a decent salary across the nation. So something else to think about. So in the end, I'm just trying to bring it up because it's a lived experience for me. It's presently living an experience, you know, of what it means to be elected. And if you are elected and outspoken, because you not staying in your place, it's going to make it even more difficult. If you know, the kind of elected that are, you know, say some stuff, but it's within the parameters of some group or another that likes it, but don't dare be one that speaks truth to power across the board, then you won't get the support you need. So we need to basically affirm that we appreciate their stand.
Well, you know, I mean, the first thing you said, well, one among the first things that you said, Commissioner Ellis, was that you want to cut them a check.
I do, Senator, and I was thinking of Senator Taylor, I'm glad you brought that up. They got to move quick, and you kind of figure out what people will get. I think I read where in one state someone raised a lot of money for them already. So some of the easy money, the $5, $10, $100 deal will be for people who will do political support. And they ought to set that up and make sure that it's monitored and everything is done legally. Second level is that personal financial support so they can make it. I suspect they were struggling as legislators, but the power, the ability to help people in and of itself, in some ways can make up for the lack of food. All of a sudden, that oatmeal tastes a little better. Tastes like an omelet when you have something else in your life that nourishes you. But the spotlight's going to go out. Senator Taylor, when you broke the quorum, when we did it in Texas, something else is going to happen. You cannot control when, and scrutiny will come. Santita, when your dad and Dr. King, when I was there last Friday, I guess I went to the apartment complex and Reverend Jackson was telling me the battle. I think Andy Young wanted him to go to New York. Somebody else wanted him to go to LA, but it's too far away. And Reverend Jackson, in part, wanted them to go, and Bevel, I think, wanted them to go to Chicago, and they did. But it was a challenge. I was thinking about Brandon Johnson when they were messing with him about the installment plan on his water bill. Well, most people in Chicago own an installment plan because they got all of those outrageous fees, those predatory fees. And I remember this, your dad forgot it, Santita. They sentenced Mr. Washington, Harold Washington, to the county jail.
They sure did.
Over a little form they didn't file. He paid the taxes, some fee on your law firm. It's about $400. I can't remember if they sent him to jail. I Googled it because Reverend didn't remember that. And I did Google it, and I don't know if he stayed in 30 days, but he went. He was a state legislator, but he had bucked the machine.
And it happened right after he fought the machine. They came in on him like you would not believe.
He paid the fee but didn't file the form. And I thought about it, and I thought about my daughter driving a car I gave her. Let me go see if this child is paying that fee. Because it's under my name. And I'm messing with people. Lisa Taylor, you messing with people, and they go look for some little. Now, if it happens on Trump, even if it's a big thing like paying off the mistress, well, then people like your previous caller from LA will say, well, y'all leave that alone. So when it's up, hey, Dr. King, they were always after him. You're dead. So they better be prepared for that before Senator Taylor, before we close our eyes, even on Resurrection Sunday, I'm on Harold Love. You know him, state rep, longtime rep. I think ran for mayor, National Metropolitan. Harold's the incoming chair. He has a church right down the street from the Capitol. I'm going to psychotext him and tell him some of these old heads like you and I who had the life experience need to make sure somebody talks to those young men. The best job is the private sector. If they work for another legislator, somebody's going to check the time sheet. They're going to see what are they doing political. The best thing is, if we have people, if I was going to do it, we have people who may be black, white, brown, whatever, from somewhere else who would invest in them, because right now the light is hot. The spotlight's on them, but it will go out.
It will go out. And and the fact is, freedom is not free. It's just not free. And you need the support. I mean, this is my parents' story to tell. But when my father and mother ran for president, I mean, my father couldn't even get life insurance. Rodney Ellis, because in his position, black leadership didn't live past 39, and he had already lived past his time according to that chart. So there were a couple of people who came together and said, look, you just run because you do know you can't make a living while you're running, right? you do know that.
Habitual amnesia, by the way. It ain't always ours. Some of the ones that have benefited the most from my struggle have had continuous amnesia. In fact, I told them that's not amnesia. They have Alzheimer's. It just came on automatically.
We'll go get some closing thoughts. That's so crazy. Commissioner Rodney Ellis, Texas Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis. And of course, Attorney Daryl Jones, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. He and Barbara Arngline are on WOL. Today, Attorney Robert Patillo will be on WAOK from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. You don't want to miss it. Please reach out to Joseph Kyle so you can get him and or any of the Tennessee 3 on. Of course, State Senator Lena Taylor and Dwight McKee will be giving closing thoughts when we get back on the Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson show on this Resurrection Sunday 2023.
I stand right up on the rock. Yes, I stand right where Moses stood. Yes, I will.
Coming up, we'll have closing thoughts. From
Love you
Reverend
all
Jesse
so
Jackson,
much. You
right
all have been
here.
so wonderful today. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
There's 5 of us that get some religion. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get some James Cleveland on my boat box when I get out here.
Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy did that today. I mean, I said, it's nothing like that old gospel. You can say what you
Oh
want.
yeah, he was so young when he died. Remember congestive heart failure?
Yeah, he wasn't even 60. It's hard to believe. He wasn't even 60. I think he was 59. Boy, because he died during Dad's first campaign, and we lost. Who was it? Marvin Gaye. It was just like, Lord have mercy. This is a lot.
And hey, he's from Chicago, isn't he? Right outside Chicago. Oh, he was living out in Culver City.
You know what?
He's from Chicago.
You know what he did? I know Albertina Walker is the one who gave him his big boost, right, Dwight? James Cleveland, because he was her pianist and music arranger.
Well, he was also the split arranger for
Aretha?
Yeah, with Aretha.
Mm-hmm.
And
because I remember the movie where Aretha, they had that soundtrack, that video came over in his church.
Mm-hmm.
They uncovered it, and there she was at his church.
Amazing Grace.
And he and Clay Evans had a singing group together.
Mm.
That's how it started. He, Clay Evans, and they had a quartet together. And so they really getting immersed in music at the same time. And so he was able to really excel. He was a phenomenal talent.
Unbelievable. And so was Reverend Evans.
And Senator Taylor, did you indicate? Yeah, and Senator Taylor, did you indicate that Wisconsin has enacted a law that said that if a member is expelled from the assembly there, that they cannot be reelected by the people. Did I hear you say that correctly? Is that right?
You heard me say something similar to that. In particular, it is a piece of legislation. It's not been passed yet, and it's not been heard yet. It will be heard next week in the assembly. It's AB 95 in the assembly. It is not related to state legislators, but local elected. See, they already have been very clear that they wanted to get rid of our prosecutor in Milwaukee County. And they also, and that's been for some time, they even tried to recall him, they tried to run people against him, just all of that kind of stuff. They even recruited someone who was African American and tried to support her to run against him previously. So they are trying to prepare for when they do whatever they do, that the person can't be reappointed. And I'm not sure yet what role it will play on if they do it, because they have also stated that they are upset about the governor appointing a new Secretary of State. Our Secretary of State just won the re-election, like the governor did, just this past November, and got sworn in January, and then stepped down. And so there are almost 4 years left on this
58-26. We had 30 seconds.
and the governor appointed the former treasurer who ran for U.S. Senate in the same race that Mandela ran in. She stepped down from the run just weeks before the election. And long story short, she was appointed Secretary of State. So they are
Stand by.
pissed about that.
Stand by, everybody. You'll have 30 seconds for closing thoughts, okay?
5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Hey, everybody. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Happy Resurrection Sunday. It's been a joy being with you today. July 15th through the 19th, the Rainbow Push International Conference. We'll be talking about the Tennessee 3. Hopefully, we'll have them, too. And so many of the big issues. Please go to rainbowpush.org and be a part of this year's convention. Let me get 30 seconds from everybody who's on deck with us today. Attorney Darrell Jones, your closing thoughts.
Thank you so much, Santita. Santita, on this Resurrection Sunday, let's be certain that we all stand with the two Justins in their fight in the Tennessee legislature there. And let's be certain that we not just stand with them, that we support them, not just in prayer and thought, but in action. So wherever you are, if you can't make it to Tennessee, go to your local elected body and have them pass some type of resolution condemning the act of the undemocratic actions there in Tennessee, and have that sent to the House Speaker there in Tennessee to let them know that we will not stand for these undemocratic actions anywhere in this country. Local bodies or state bodies, please get active, get involved, and be certain to let the Justins know that you stand with them. That's our message today, Cynthia.
Amen. A hard 30 seconds. State Senator Lena Taylor.
I agree.
Oh, is that?
Let's action. Send $3, send $30, send $300. Do something. Go to your legislators and ask them to pass a resolution, but do something to show support.
Amen. Rodney Ellis.
I think it's all about the money. I was just thinking I'm going to call one of my Congress people and get them to get the highest ranking black or progressive elected official in Tennessee and have them get to these two young men and tell them how to organize some PAC that each of them control so they determine what they want to do next, whether it's this or wherever, and figure out how to help them personally to sustain their quality of life so we can keep them on the scene and they can grow to be older statespeople like Senator Taylor and I are. She's much younger than me now. I'm 69, Lena, but you don't crack.
Dwight McKee, I got 15 seconds for you.
Well, just like Good Friday, the crucifixion created a great opportunity for Jesus to rise on Sunday morning. these guys excel like they did. It's a great opportunity for them to organize and create a momentum that can really, at some point, take out all of the guys that are came after them. I look at all these white.
Hold on. Okay. We are coming out, but staying on Facebook Live.
Jesse Jackson. For more information on upcoming shows and guests, please visit our website at www.keephopealiveradio.com.
Dwight McKee, you were making this about this Resurrection Sunday. Please continue. We're still on Facebook Live.
Yeah, I see these young white activists outside in protest, as you may need to protest, and they can become a major political force to get these reactionary guys out of office, and also to really deal with this gun issue. If they're in pain because it's been their nieces and nephews, brothers and sisters that got killed by these guns, and I see them becoming a tremendous force for good.
I think so, and I think it's going to be rainbow. It already is. These people have gone. These kids have gone down the street on this whole piece, Lena Taylor. They have gone on. They want freedom, and they want it now. And the thing is, and they can do that because the price has been paid for them to do this. Activism is not easy, and Dr. King paid with his life, and Reverend Jackson paid by giving his whole life. And let me tell you something: being free cost you. Reverend is still working full work days at 81 because it costs to be free. So you need to support Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, because if you want them to be free, you'll have to pay for it. That's why it's still the freest, richest Black person in America is a Black preacher, because we pay for them. They're answerable to us. Remember that. So make them answerable to you and help them to live. And don't require of them that they live like paupers. That is spiritually immature. You don't want to live like a pauper, and neither should they. Should they be caught up in money? No, but none of us should be. But should they be begging if they have to go to the hospital or get some food or live in a nice place? Oh, no, they shouldn't. So let's think about that. People who give to you, give to them. That's what we need to do. Does anyone else have anything to say? Have we left anything on the table?
Make sure you send us the contact so we can all reach one another. But look, we need to make sure we call. Reverend can do that. St. Timmy, you play a role. Make sure they know how to set it up. Somebody in Tennessee can do that. And I know Harold Love is on the pulpit today, but I'm gonna reach out to somebody in Shelby County, someplace, to make sure they know how to set it up.
Yeah, they need to know.
The minority leader is Karen Camper, last that I knew. So that's another way. And I know the National Caucus of Black State Legislators is also organizing individuals as well as CBC. But I want to just say for another conversation, another time, but to just bring it up, that the different treatment that happened for the white legislator and the Black legislators is real, no different than the different treatment that happened for the LSU player, Miss Angel, versus the other player, who Miss Caitlin, who they both did some trash talking. So in the end, there is going to be his hypocrisy, double standards, but if we don't stand with people when they take a stand against what is wrong, if they don't stand up for what is right, and if we don't stand with them, then they stand alone, and that too is a burden. It's an emotional burden that you can't see. So also send words of love and support.
Amen. Look, I hear you. It's an experience I've lived. I get it. I've seen my father enrich Black America. No one has made more wealthy Black people than Reverend. I mean, what did they say? Right. Dr. King was the architect. Reverend has been the builder. He just accepted the assignment and he never let it go. But I know he has to beg these same people for 1/100th of 1% of the monies that he negotiates for them. And it's shameful. And I'm gonna tell you,
It is shameful.
it's shameful.
It
I mean,
is,
in the
it
Jewish
is.
community, they don't do that. They take care of the ADL. And my friend Danny Schefter, may he rest in peace. Danny was to the left of Castro. Okay, real left-wing politics. Emmy Award-winning television producer, left television at the height of his powers as a producer, to do a show called South Africa Now, and it was illegal to get film footage out of South Africa in the late 80s. I mean, that's how dangerous it was. But he was so dedicated to getting Mandela and Walter Sisulu and everyone freed that he did that. And he said, let me tell you something. I do not agree with the politics of the ADL, B'nai B'rith. Their politics are far to the right of mine. He said, but I am Jewish and I need an advocate. He said, Santita, anti-Semitism is real. And he said it in this context. He said, it breaks my heart to see your father have to beg people who he's protecting help keep the doors open. He said, what is the deal? Now he asked, I'm telling you what he said to me. You know, and we've got to stop that.
We really do. That's real. And as somebody who, you know, is living that kind of experience every day, I say it all the time. It's a Reverend Jackson that I'm able to look at and be like, girl, you don't know nothing about science. You don't know nothing about injustice. You know, compared to, right, what Reverend continues to do. I'll never forget when we left the States and I was there with Reverend. I said, how does he go? He was up before me and went longer than me at night. And I'm half his age almost. So, okay.
Well, you know what? I mean, I think he is on a mission. And I think we have to have a sense of mission. You know, my father said, when you're farther back, you have to run faster and harder. And we have to accept that mission. These kids today, all they have done is pick up the baton and wage the fight in their generation. Dwight, you put it so well. This is their generation's fight. Everybody has waged their generation's fight. And people paid with their lives, and they paid by giving their lives. So now what are you going to do? And what are the lessons that we have learned? We should not force our people to take vows of poverty to keep us going. And we should not starve our organizations out. They're the ones who protect you. One of my friends, bless her heart, and she didn't mean any harm, but she got this big job. And now these people, not even a year in, are trying to push her out. And this could really harm her, just her standing in her community. I said, you know what? I hope you understand. I said, and this is not self-aggrandizing, because, you know, the interesting thing is people like Reverend could walk away and just be very comfortable and just do something else. You could. But his heart and spirit won't let him. Just like there's some things that I just cannot do because of, you know, a sense of obligation you have to your people. And I said, you know, wait a minute. You know, I said, you know, that's why you should be members. You don't have to be a member of PUSH, but NAACP, something. National Action Network, something. Get active. I said, you ought to be able to call somebody, and you need to support the organizations because they support you. I mean, come on, we have to mature in our thinking. It's not right.
I'm glad you got us motivated with Direction Sunday.
Well, you know what? I mean, thank you all for motivating, because when I thought about people who run away, I thought about you and Lena Taylor. And on principle, you know, Dwight is from the generation we knew people who decided not to fight in the Vietnam War, and we saw the price that they paid. And you just keep on going with this, right? And that we have to get on the stick so that we can understand that, you know, the struggle continues. Victory is certain, but the struggle does continue. But if the struggle doesn't continue, you will not win.
And on all fronts. Senator Taylor, that's Alex. They got those bills passed and through. I mean, it's amazing the way we have a network. Just unlimited resources. And what's his name? Trammell Cole. What's his name? That took Clifford Thomas on the trip of a Harlan Crow, bunch of that money coming out of a lot of that crazy money coming out of Texas, by the way.
There's so much money that comes out of Texas, and that big church money comes out of Texas.
And
too.
Florida.
Yeah. So I don't know what that's about, but boy, it's real. It is
It
real.
is. All right, y'all have a good Sunday.
Love you. Happy Resurrection Sunday.
you.
All
Thank
my
you.
love to Leisha and the
Send us
family.
the contact so we'll have everybody's contact info.
I sent everyone their text.
Okay.
Can
All right.
you text Daryl? Did you get the text from me?
I got
Yes,
the
I
text,
did.
but
Thank
I
you
think
so much.
he's
Thank
saying
you.
he wasn't included.
Who was it? Who
Yeah, I wasn't on that. Put
No,
me
no,
on
no.
that.
But I sent you one. I followed up with one, sending you out. Let me do this again.
Send it again. It had to come.
Okay.
You don't want me hitting too many buttons on my phone at the same time. I'll turn it off. I'm the 69-year-old, remember?
Commissioner Harris, sorry we missed you when we were down in Houston.
Well, I got back and I thought, well, I missed you all, but since he was leaving and it was cold in Chicago, I switched the flight, flew out, so I did see Reverend.
Oh, great.
Sunday, I was with him Sunday evening and Monday.
Okay, fantastic.
But I went to him.
I'm out.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Sending you much
All right,
love.
thank you.
And thank you
All right.
for everything, everybody. You all are just the best.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on top of this issue. God bless.
Well, we are trying our best.
Listen, we got to get you connected so that we can make that radio move here also, so we can hear these messages.
Yes. Well, I
We
need to talk
talked
with
about
you
it
about that.
before.
You know?
So, yes, so that's the connection with Michelle that I want you to, be able to make so that you guys can talk about that and how to make that happen and what slot might be good, because I want to say the slot at 10, I think is going to be opening up.
In the morning?
9 or 10 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Yep,
Oh, that would be great.
exactly. So that's
No,
the
let's
follow-up
do
we
that.
want
Because, because I also have a couple of other ideas that I'm working on. And I want to go on and do that because it's like I'm syndicated. It's ad hoc, but it is syndicated, so let's just go on and do that. But can you come on in the morning? The thing is, I was at the station and I don't know why they've been reducing the number of lines that we have, but they've done that. But I'd like to get you on early because I'd like you to walk through what it's like to, the whole expulsion process. I think we hear expelled. I don't know if we know really what that's about and why they need support,
that part. I have a doctor's appointment at 9, so I'm gonna,
Can I get you at 6:30?
I'll try. Yeah. Oh.
No,
I'll try.
7. 7.
7. I'll try you. Yep.
Okay, 7.
Okay.
7.
All right then.
Okay. Yeah, because I think this is a big enough issue.
Yeah. I'll be with you tomorrow. I'm gonna head on off for my day to day. Love you much.
Love you. Happy Resurrection Sunday to you.
Yes. Jesus rose.
And Jesus lives.
Amen.
In your heart, in your actions.
In each of
now,
us.
Effie Rolfe, who is a very, very big radio personality here, she wants to know, she's been asking several times, how do we support both Justins? How do we do that? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know the exact site that they have, but I think what you can definitely know to do is you could Google them, look up their campaign site, and you could give directly to their campaign
To their
site.
campaigns? Okay.
Yes, that would be a wonderful way that you can give right now. And it's actually what people did when we left the state. They gave $14. That was often the number that people gave. I'm talking about hundreds of $14 donations. That adds up. It matters, people.
Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know.
So don't think $30 won't matter. It matters. Don't think $3 won't matter. It matters.
And don't think prayer doesn't matter. It matters.
And don't think a kind word
Oh
doesn't
my
matter.
gosh. I mean, when
It
you
matters.
when you are getting beaten down and you're walking down the street and somebody might just look at you and say, "We're praying for you." I walked into, what was it? I think it was a Barnes Noble years ago, and there was a book that was just quite ugly about my father, and it was a huge display as you walked into the bookstore, and it was a black woman who was a security guard at the store, and she recognized me. And as I walked in, I looked at the display, and I just kept on going. And she touched my arm. She said, "You know, we love your father. And you know, we know that he fights for us." It makes me tearful now because she didn't have to say that.
Right.
But I just know, when I see the people when we go into the hospital and I see the folks who clean the hospital, who's so proud that he's there. And I was trying to find what room he was in. I got a little lost. They were like, "Oh, he's in the biggest room. He's in the presidential room." I said, "I don't know." They said, No. We're not gonna have Reverend in the little room. And that's how, just God continues to keep you lifted. When you see the people, God has given us the opportunity.
Exactly.
People just blessed us, and they just come and they have just said so many wonderful things. And they just done wonderful things, and I just thank God. I'm humbled and I'm grateful.
It matters.
It does.
And I just want people to know that all of that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so be a blessing. Be
That's
a blessing.
right.
On this Resurrection Sunday, I want to remind you to be a blessing to the two Justins. Be
That's
a blessing. Right. Be a blessing to young Angela at LSU.
That's
be a
right.
blessing. When you take a stand, it's not what it looks like, y'all. It's not always easy.
Oh, it's
to
tough.
take that stance.
But you know what I'll say about Caitlin? Caitlin said, "No, we shouldn't go to the White House." I mean, every white person ain't asleep and every black person ain't awake.
That's right.
She is like
that part.
All of it. No.
Let the church say amen.
Blackness does not make you noble, and whiteness does not make you wicked. It is your mindset. I want to know where you stand and what you're trying to do. Okay.
I want to know what you're gonna do with it.
Hello. How about that? Are you going to use your experience having been born at the bottom and understand life from the bottom up, even if you get to the top? Or are you going to take being born at the top and want to lift everybody? See, that's what I want to know. After that, I don't want to hear anything else y'all got to say.
Yeah, all I can tell you is just because you at the table don't mean that you're going to speak up. And if you at the table and you've had the privilege to be at the table, it is so very important that you know it is crucial that you do speak up. Because somebody else is depending on you to be their voice. And that's what those young men were basically saying. Like, look, I was sent to be the voice of some people, and you're not going to deny my ability to be able to speak on their behalf.
Look, they knew. Look, I'm so glad. One of them, I understand, is a theology student.
You know what? It's something that you say that because he speaks like it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, somebody got to want to be a pastor, want to be a speaker in the church. And now it make all the sense in the world, okay?
Yeah. I mean, and see, if preachers aren't speaking like that, I don't want to hear anything you got to say, but then that's my tradition too. And some things are more important than money. And believe me, we have paid the price to be here. And that's all right. I'm grateful.
Somebody had to do it. And we thank God for your father who continues to pay that price. Right. Thank you, my sister. You have a blessed day.
Love you, sweetie. See you and talk to you in the morning. Dwight McKee.
All right now. Bye-bye.
And Senator Taylor, we'll be reaching out to you regarding Assembly Bill 95.
You know what? Call her. You're on that text.
Yes, I'll give her a yell.
Please do. Because I had not heard anything. I hadn't heard about that. So I need you tomorrow too. because we need to know what the steps are to, to deal with that. Because that's just so insane. It's like, what? But this is where we are. This is power concedes nothing without demand. It never has and it never will. So there you go. But I'm sending you all much love. I'm going to get out of here today.
And just Daryl Jones on.
Daryl.
Okay, thank you, Santita.
Thank you,
Santita.
sweetie.
Sending it back to you.
Okay, and happy Resurrection Sunday. But what I'll do is reach out to you, but I want you tomorrow. I just need to figure out what block. But I think
Okay, sure.
I think it would be good to have you on with Lena to talk about
just let me know. More than happy to do that.
Thank you.
And have a great Resurrection Sunday.
Oh, you
and we'll
too.
talk tomorrow.
Thank you. Oh, Gene, you say you cannot live on campaign money, but ironically enough, once you raise that money, Gene, that money belongs to you. Say an elected official goes into retirement, that money belongs to them. So, but the thing is but you can't live on campaign money when you're an active candidate or elected official. But the fact is, I'm gonna tell you something. What you make when you're a congressperson, DC is one of the most expensive cities on earth. Can I get a witness, Daryl? It is expensive to be there. Trust and believe. They don't make enough money. I mean, that's Martin Frost was considering staying in some of the congresspersons, Jeremy, stay in their office until they can get an apartment. Because you can easily pay $5,000 or $6,000 a month for a studio in DC. It's the center of the military industrial complex. When you go to DC, go to the Capitol, okay, and draw out. If you can see the Capitol from where you live, that's big bucks. Big bucks. And you can see Virginia, parts of Maryland, okay? So it costs a lot of money. And so, and what you look, pay them $1 million a year so they are bribe proof. Why not? You keep them up at all hours and pay them some money so they are bribe proof and so they can live. Because I promise you, you put people in a position of being compromised. It's just terrible. They don't need to do that. I'm looking at all of them. There's no money in it. And I'm not saying, I'm saying you shouldn't take a vow of poverty. That's why so many rich people are in Congress, in both houses, because they can afford to be. Think about it that way. Now, why don't you do that for poor people? So they can afford to be there, so they can afford to serve you, because serving us is expensive. It's just like if someone can't preach, well, then they can't eat. But a preacher, I mean, did you see that Aretha Franklin, docudrama, when you saw at the beginning, her father's car had broken down, Effie, and he was able to pay cash for a new car. And this white man looked at him. This was like 60, 70 years ago. He was like, "Who are you?" He was like, "I'm a preacher." First of all, he was like the biggest black preacher in the country. And so he was able to support his daughter in all of her genius until she got a hit. She didn't get a real hit till she was about 25, 26, 27. Aretha had what people would call, she had a patron. And patrons of the arts generally are wealthy. They are wealthy people who enable you to take the lessons, to be able to develop as an artist, because it takes an incredible amount of practice and hard work. And her patron was her daddy. Then he put her on the road, so she was able to make extra money. It all cost, everybody. And don't begrudge people. Don't begrudge people that when they, pay folks so they can help you to get paid. Yeah, I've said that. All right, Jeremy, I'm about to leave you now. Thank you for these wonderful songs. I did find Donald Bales and the Coral Ears.
Okay.
And I put that on there. I said, I've been looking for that song for a minute. Hey, I love you all. Happy Resurrection Sunday. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Love you, Jewel. Love you, Jean. Love you, Effie, Kenneth. Oh, my goodness. I love you, love you, love you. Love you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. You want to say something, Jeremy?
Go to church.
I love
Happy
you.
Easter.
Oh, and make sure you have church in your heart.
Yes.
Love you. Have a great one, everybody. Happy Resurrection Sunday.